Hi everyone, and welcome to the third installment of my build of a Dragon's 1/35th scale M48A3 in a Vietnam style. Now, in this video, we're going to be looking at doing some fender bending, adding on all of the stowage, and also that iconic searchlight at the front. So, if that's something that's of interest to you, then pull up a chair and let's go do some modeling. So first of all, it's the Legend option. Very nice. If I had my time over again, I'd probably pick the DEF one because there's a little bit more detail on it. But all in all, no issues at all, and I'll walk you through how it all went together. So they're all resin parts, very nicely detailed. This is the backstop, which everything else is added onto. It's just a matter of taking off the large resin chunks. A little bit of cleaning up on the canvas cover here, and a little bit of drilling needed, but no real issues. The barrel cover, beautifully designed. Very impressed with that part. Again, needs drilling out for the actual barrel to go into. And then we have some very small, fragile pieces, some of which had to be swapped out later on. A little bit of PE and some rod and wire as well. So, as you can see on the instructions, the first bit is we need to take out a big chunk of the front turret. So it's a bit squeaky bum time. Because it's unlevel surface, it was very difficult to draw around or to actually work out the size of the opening. So, a matter of going very slowly, cutting out a little bit here and there, um, taking the resin part back to the turret, checking to make sure that the cutting and the cleaning away was going in the right direction. Because what you don't want to do is to take too much off, because otherwise you're then into the realms of having to put in filler, and the join wouldn't be as tight as it should be. So, using the old disc-based snips, started to make the hole as big as I could, and then once I was nearly there, it was a matter of using files, sanding sticks, and the craft knife just to keep taking a few little millimeters away as I go. And then once I was happy, it was a matter of sticking the resin part in with copious amounts of CA glue, and as you can see there, it's gone in nice and flush, and I was really pleased with the final result. You'll also notice I've added on some texture in the usual way with the Mr. Surfacer 500, which we've looked at in other videos. So with that base done, it's then a matter of putting on the canvas cover base as well, and that was clamped on with CA glue and left overnight. As far as the brackets go, unfortunately, I lost the PE part. Still haven't found it. No idea where it is. So it was a matter of getting out the DP Tools cutter, cutting some little bits of strip, and then adding those on. And as you can see, the resins from the kit are on there as well. Like I say, that was clamped overnight. The smaller parts were then added. This is quite a fragile piece, so a lot of care had to be taken while putting on all these extra parts. The wire was bent to the size that was required. Now, as far as the actual barrel goes, a little bit of an issue here because obviously I wanted to use the metal aftermarket barrel. Um, so I started to proceed with this part from model ship. But it soon came apparent that the actual metal barrel is a little bit shorter than the Dragon offering. Now, is the Dragon one too long? Is the metal one too short? I've no idea. But because there was only a couple of mil difference, it really didn't bother me as far as that side of the accuracy goes. So I just continued with the metal barrel itself. Um, I chopped the Dragon part down using the guillotine shears. This was purely to make sure that I had a backup and I could use it as a gauge as well. I drilled out the hole within the resin covering for the actual metal barrel to then go into. As you can see there, it has a resin muzzle brake. Sadly, that did break while I was doing all of this, so I did actually add on the plastic kit part afterwards. So I'll just show you some pictures while I have a quick swig of water. The cable that came with the kit, that was fine. Just needed to drill out the rear hole to put the cable into. But all in all, very nice. But as I say, very fragile. So moving along to the cupola, nicely designed. It has a clear plastic part which slots in. Obviously, make sure you mask this all off when you come to the painting stage. Lovely detail. You've got the numbers on there on the top and on the side. As far as the actual MG50 barrel, I didn't put that in till the end because it did keep falling out. Now, the only thing missing is the canvas cover. So I decided to make one using brown stuff. We'll go into more detail later in the video how you use brown stuff, but basically I've rolled it all out. I've got a little strip, dipping it in water to take off all of the talc. It's then a matter of sculpting it. So I started off using the brush, and really I wasn't getting much adhesion doing it this way. And what I wanted was to have lots of folds and creases like the real thing. So after faffing around using the brush for a little bit, I gave up, and then I just took it to hand, and then just squashed it up with my fingers, as you can see here. And what I wanted to do, as I said, just was to create that creased look. There we go. So concertinaed it in, looking a lot better. And once I was happy with that, it was just a matter of putting it back on and then using the brush and some sculpting tools just to create the final look. Brown stuff, yeah, it doesn't go off probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes, so you've got plenty of time to play with it. Then once that was done, I just added on a couple of little strips of micro strip for the metal joins. These were tidied up later and sanded back flat. But all in all, pleased with that. The rear basket, this was a shocker from Dragon, and if it wasn't for the fact that it was completely covered in stowage, I would have replaced it. So let's have a quick look around what we've done. As you can see, there's a little hook on the back of the searchlight that I added on. That has actually come with the Def model kit. As you can see, I've put the plastic muzzle brake on there as well, which was a real pain in the ass. Sometimes it looks straight, sometimes it doesn't. But all in all, I'm pleased with the final look. All of the texturing's been done. You've also got the side sights on there as well. That's the final look of the canvas. Very pleased with how that turned out. So all in all, very pleased. But now it was time to move on to the stowage. This is the resin stowage that I got off Evil Bay. Not too bad. Needed quite a bit of cleaning up here and there. But as you can see, there's loads of it. A lot of it is actually designed to fit on this particular tank. So a lot of it, I didn't need to worry about too much where it went. But then some of it you can use for your own artistic license. So here it all is on. Let's go into a little bit more detail with what we had to do. You'll also see there that I've done some of the spare tracks from the AFV club set. There's a little box there from the spares drawer. The little composition there of some of the guys' kits with the helmets and his boots. There's a little flat part that can go on top. That would be a couple of K-ration boxes that we'll detail up during the painting stage. Again, this was all about using reference material. There's lots of different references to show all of these spare tracks and the way the equipment is all stashed on the turret. Used a little jerry can there from the kit, from the spares drawer as well. All of the back canisters, they'll be wired strapped in later on. But yeah, I was really pleased. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to paint it, but it's looking the part. As far as the 50 cal and 30 cal boxes, the toolkit, don't put it all on straight and neat because that isn't very realistic. This side part, that comes all as one piece. And then we've got some bags. The jerry cans there, I had to put a little bit of rod on there myself. But nicely detailed. The jacket there covers up a multitude of scenes, which is good. And one of my favourite parts, we've got a little cassette deck and a little jungle cap as well. So I was really looking forward to seeing how this all turned out during the painting process. Now, on the back here, one of the infield additions later in the war was to put on an infantry phone so the guys can speak to the tankers inside. So I just scratch built one myself using bits of styrene tubing there just to make the base, and then I added on some detailing later, which we'll have a look at. So let me leave you some stills again while I have a quick swig of water. So as you can see with the rear phone box, added on some pewter 5mm rivets, a couple of little brackets and that, and made the indentation to show you how it all opens up, and then added on a couple of supports. So quite basic, but certainly looked the part. Right, now some fender bending. Um, Again, the options that you can have for damage on the this vehicle is endless. So many reference photos, so much damaged. I'm taking off the front fenders and bending them around a bit, but some of the damage was extensive on these vehicles. They certainly weren't looked after. So as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit to get some of the plastic fender off. Started with the craft knife, then I moved over to the saw. In the end, I used the shears just to snip it off. And then just going in with the craft knife, watching your fingers, and just taking layers off, getting it down as flush as possible, and then finally going in with the sanding stick to produce a nice clean break. Put a little bit de Bondo on, and then forced up the top of the fenders. Again, don't really matter if you do a little bit of damage because it's all going to add to the realism. Now, to help do the fender bending, all you need to do is just to thin out the actual plastic itself. Yes, admittedly, I'm taking off all that surface, but you can quite easily add that back on later. So as you can see, it's nicely thinned out, and then it's just a matter of getting your flat end pliers very gently, because you don't want to split the plastic. Just bend it around, and you can get some nice, realistic finishes. Now, for the other side, I decided to take it off completely, so out with the Dremel. Now, again, have to be very careful because this little piece of kit just goes through plastic like knife through butter. Don't go right up tight, just take the worst of it off first. And then once that's done, again, you can go back in with your craft knife and your saw and take the rest of that gubbins out. So again, if you add a little bit of debondo on there, it just helps the process. So there we have it. Really pleased with how that's turned out. Looking forward to getting that all painted up. So that's the front fender damage done. And then if we go to the back again, I thinned out the rear fenders. Again, bent them around a little bit, creating that nice, realistic damage finish. And like I say, I added on the Mr. Surfacer after I had finished all of doing the damage. So again, just leave you with a few stills. Okay, so let's go back to using the brown stuff. Just to make it's an epoxy resin, so you just mix a couple of parts together using talc and some sort of rolling device to make it nice and smooth when rolling out. Then I use a PE bending tool just to cut it to shape, and then putting it in some water to take off all of that talcum powder. And then what I did is I added some tarps around just to add a little bit more interest and also to hide a multitude of sins. So again, they'll look pretty smart once painted up. So there we go, guys. That's it all done. It's been the most enjoyable of builds. It's going to be one heck of a painting job. A lot of detail painting. As you know, for those who follow my work, you know I like a lot of colour on my vehicles, on my models. So there's going to be a lot of paints going to be used. But that's something that we're going to look at in the next episode. So in the meantime, that leaves me to say a massive thank you to all of my subscribers, old and new. I really do appreciate your comments and your continued support of my work. And in the meantime, I'll leave you with this video. There's lots of stills as well as some final reference photos at the end. So in the meantime, everyone, happy modeling.